McDonald calls for the ball. The snap is back. The hold is down.
And it's good.
Gulfport
wins the title.
No time on the clock. The Golden Egg is coming to the coast.
Welcome to the HD Experience, your source for sports on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Here's your host, Hunter Dawkins.
Good afternoon. My name is Hunter Dawkins. This is the 43rd episode of Mississippi Gulf Coast Sports Podcast, sponsored by the Gazebo Gazette, Harrison County's independent newspaper. The Beau Rivage Resort and Casino in Biloxi is hosting Shrek the Musical right now. Nine Toes Brewing Company in Pasquarshane, who has live music every weekend, including today. O'Dwyer Realty Agent Stephanie Makewitz, Joseph Kelly, attorney at law, Coast Casual in Pasquarshane, who has some great summer deals, especially today, Jeff, and the Insurance Barn in Gulfport, the Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo in Gulfport, which is going to be happening the July 4th weekend, and we're always in the U.S. Marine Inc. studio. I'm here with the wonderful producer of the show, Jeff Clark. Jeff is a well-accomplished, award-winning journalist, South Alabama beat writer, the director of the senior services of Harrison County, and as well, my good friend. What's going on, Jeff? Here you got some good news.
Yeah, I'm also the proud father of the national champion team for the Beta Club, Junior Beta Club musicology competition. We're down here in Nashville at the Gaylord, so I'm doing my part of the podcast from here. And literally, as soon as we hit record and got on, my son's team won. So what a great thing, man! On Father's Day.
Congratulations, my friend. Absolutely.
Thanks, brother.
That's great. That's great. And there's also been a number of things that are happening on the coast. The Shuckers, I believe they won their game, and so against the Columbus Clingstones, and they are now, if the Pensacola Wahoos lose or if they just don't win, whatever happens, I think the Shuckers end up clinching their third consecutive playoff victory. And Jeff, more importantly, I know you really enjoy this song, this tune. Our theme for the day is another song that I know you appreciate, The Eye in the Sky, Alan Parsons Project.
I love the Alan Parsons Project. Alan Parsons produced or engineered Dark Side of the Moon for Pink Floyd. Eye in the Sky, such a great song. Time's Like a River, like such a great song. But yeah, what a great topic, man.
And it's
a great song. And tell me how it applies to sports.
It's a sports-oriented. Obviously, not only was it famous, as you well know, from being the Chicago Bulls United Center opening song before every single game they played,
sure,
but also we're going to mention in a plural undertone, in other words, Eyes of the Sky, because it is essentially right now, I know I'm kind of jumping on the ball, but it is the start of the 2026-27 football season. It has already been because they've had spring games, but now officially with all sports, except for the professional baseball, the rest of the sporting world is all focused on high school, college, pro football. Bam.
I can't wait, man. It's my favorite time of the year. So we got a lot of great guests lined up. So let's get into our first commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Looking for effortless style on the coast? Discover Coast Casual in the Pass, your locally owned men's and boys' boutique. Coast Casual offers a mix of coastal and southern-inspired clothing, accessories, and gifts.
The Gazebo Gazette is Harrison County's only independent newspaper, publishing news from Gulfport to Bay St. Louis every Friday. Hi, this is Hunter Dawkins, owner of the Gazebo Gazette. If you're looking for local news without the hassle of sorting through story after digital story, log on to thegazebogazette.com.
Love to introduce my friend and one of the high school experts for high school football across the Mississippi Gulf Coast, who fans, students, coaches, and scouts know through Twitter and Facebook. Mad Stats, how are you, my friend?
Hey, it's good to be on the HD experience once again, Hunter. I know talking to fans, and I certainly appreciate what you've done. Not even a year into this podcast, but you have more than just football. You have, if everybody listens to it every week, I mean, baseball, high school sports, USM, I mean, the state schools. So great to be part of this HD experience.
Well, we thank you much. And the reason that I have you on, because I always have themes for reasons. It's eyes in the sky. Matt, above anybody, you are the ultimate eye in the sky, covering all these Mississippi Gulf Coast high school football teams. Tell me what you got.
Yeah, as early as last night, Wyatt Davis with PRC back in 2015, that era there. The quarterback whisperer, as we call him, has a 601 elite. This is his fifth season having it. It was at USM last night, and from 6 to 9. The top winners, they had like a lot of quarterbacks, a couple from Alabama, a couple from Louisiana, but mostly from Mississippi. One name that will sound familiar that won an award last year, won an award this year, and that is Parker Nettles, who was with Gulfport last year, won that 7A state championship. He won the Pro Bowl Challenge winner, as it's listed on what Wyatt posted. And I did share it on my Facebook page. So there's a lot of winners there from the 2027 class all the way to the 2030 class. So a lot of things happening there as far as that showcase. I mean, it's the elite showcase of the state that happens. And again, this is the fifth season having that. As far as camps, they're still having camps all over the state. As far as on the coast, they're pretty much done, except for next week. They do have a camp that is, I have, again, posted on my Facebook page, Gulf Coast High School Football. And if you want to get more information about that, I was trying to bring it up here. So, it's a combine. Yeah, it's a rookie to recruit combine there. And it's put on by a coach from Gulfport, not Coach Pennock, but an assistant coach there. So look for that on the Facebook page to get better. This one has, 40-yard dash. It's all timed. It does cost money, $120, but that's still June 27th, 9 a.m. We're at the new Gulfport High School Stadium. So look forward to that.
So do you know, I mean, I should probably know pretty soon here, but do you know, are they officially done with that stadium, or like is there just kind of having the field working out and all the rest is going to be happening soon?
Yeah, it is not done completely. The majority of it is. They just had the new athletic director there. So I'm drawing a blank on his name. It came from Pastor Stan. He was on the news and was showing them, the home side stands are done. Visitor side stands are not done, but it's a pick up and put in place there for Gulfport Stadium. They said if they're supposed to host a jamboree, they did not say. They said if they don't have the jamboree in time, the field in time done, they will host it at Milner Stadium. But they do plan on having it done for that first game that Gulfport will have, which I believe it's the second week. They'll play at Picayune the first week, and then the second week, I want to say they're going to host Laurel, which I have the schedules coming in, and Gulfport is one of them that I do have in, as I was just checking to see who they are playing against. But to answer your question, it does look like it is scheduled, it'd be done for that first home game. Here it is right here. First home game, which will be September 11th. So they actually have, like last year, they have a bye that is Gulfport the second week after the first week. They're at Picayune. They won last year, and that last second interception there Picayune won last year against Gulfport, and then they had the bye week, and then they'll host Laurel September 11th. The first game that they will host will be that September 25th, and it's homecoming as they host Pascagoula. And of course, who's coming in but Zach Green, that was the defensive coordinator for the Admirals. So all indications that we'll be ready to go for at least that September 11th, if not the August 21st Jamboree as they host Oak Grove.
Talk to me about, now I know this may not be just one school, this is probably numerous schools, but who has been going through workouts, weight rooms that they have been posting pictures for you to be able to, for anybody to be able to follow them?
And one of them, Bay High, post, of course. I mentioned Gulfport. They're always on it. They're posting that. Coach Pennock just posted his first quick six that they did last year. 6 questions to one player. They just did it to Juice, as the nickname there, defensive lineman. Watch that on my Facebook page. But Gulfport's there. Pascagoula post is good on social media. All the teams are pretty much good. Some do it more than others. Some tag me in it, which that's fine. I'm grateful that they did tag me in posts like that. As far as schedules, we're still missing 4 schedules unless I'm just totally don't see it. Out of the 25 teams, Christian Collegiate is one of them, Moss Point, St. Patrick, I know you had the coach on last week, and Ocean Springs, the only 7A team that I do not have a schedule on for this 2026. I did hear about games, but I haven't seen anything officially posted on there. So I certainly appreciate it if any of those schedules are out to post it. And you can find it again all on Gulf Coast High School football.
Who are some of the quarterbacks? I know that they probably go to official camps and colleges and things like that, or even potentially pro camps. Who are some of the guys that you have noticed or at least followed that have been putting word out, not necessarily just quarterbacks, but anybody from a production, putting posts online, going to colleges or other organizations for camps?
Yeah, there's quite a few of them. In fact, we just talked about the 601, that elite camp. Jackson Wolverton, I believe, is with Hancock. The quarterback there. Dawson Sullivan with St. Martin was at the camp. He's been going, posting a lot of information. Keon McNeil from Gaucher, their future quarterback there. Trey Smith from Poplarville. Poplarville's not known. They've thrown a lot last year and the year before when they won the state championship. But Trey Smith, the quarterback there that's been going out there. Chamber Berglund, Ocean Springs quarterback. He did great last year. They went all the way to the playoffs and looked to take that next step to get past South State. But he is going to a lot of camps there. Of course, you're familiar with Paris Trivellon, what Past Christian is getting out there. A lot of, and it's not just Mississippi. They go over to Louisiana, anywhere you can go to get better at these camps. I certainly suggest it. And I'll be glad if any player or parent, as several of them tag me in and say, hey, my son got an offer or my son's going to this camp. Hey, I certainly will shine the light, as they say, on coast players, as they should be.
Now, into your secondary career, I guess I could say, or even your third, whichever one you would refer that to be used as, the Gulf Coast Community College, Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College broadcasting. Have they begun really starting workouts or anything yet? Have they had their day where a bunch of kids can come in and practice and kind of a workout day to see if you want to put them on the team? Have they had anything like that besides like camps?
No, they haven't had. They have they've had tryouts, open tryouts.
Tryouts, what I meant. Yes, sir.
Yeah, for walk-ons. They have had tryouts for that. They do not have a spring game like I believe PRC did and Jones had spring game. Gulf Coast does not have spring games, but they did have open tryouts along with all the other JUCO schools. I get a lot of players that DM me and say, "Hey, is there any JUCO schools that I can go to?" And it's like I do have connections per se with Gulf Coast, but on the X account, it said, "Hey, I suggest that you tag your position coach at whatever school you want to go to there in Mississippi, and ask them, hey, watch your film and tape." So I suggest that to all the players, and even help them out what to write to them, because some players don't want to use the wrong language, but they just they can polish it up. I'm certainly glad to help out any players that want to reach out to JUCO schools. So they also, like I say, with Gulf Coast, again, walk-ons, even if you walk on, they're looking for players all the time. They're recruiting 24/7, Hunter, even during the season. They're recruiting for next year, that is. So Gulf Coast, Coach Wright, August the 27th should be that Thursday. They'll be at home, if not mistaken. So that's when the first game will kick off for the Bulldogs, and look forward to it. Again, the format has changed, 10 straight weeks, no bye weeks, and you have to be the number one team in the South to make it to the playoffs. And if it was last year, they wouldn't have been the number one team in the South. They actually had to go on the road last year, and they ended up losing in that first round. So
when does camp officially start for the Bulldogs?
Yeah, as far as a date, I don't have an exact date as far as any kind of camp per se. I mean, they're always working out, lifting weights and doing to that aspect. And they'll again host Kahoma, their first game again on that 27th, and they will be on the road there afterwards. So again, 5 home games, 5 road games. And Coach Wright, incredible record there since 2018, won that national championship. I know you had him on the podcast, so great coach there, great interview, and it's going to be a great season, I feel, for Gulf Coast. And we talked about Parker Nettles. Is he going to start for Gulf Coast? That information, I don't know if he is or not as quarterback.
Well, Matt, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you and reach out to you.
Yeah, certainly. Again, on Facebook, Gulf Coast High School Football, powered by Matt Stats. On X at Coast Football, Instagram, all across all social media. And if you do want, more than just football, Gulf Coast High School Sports on Facebook. So it's certainly appreciated, and I'm certainly glad to for you to have me on again on HD Experience. And don't waste an opportunity to help someone, and don't take the time to downgrade anybody. Be nice to one another, and I certainly appreciate being on the podcast.
We thank you, my friend. You take care.
All right. Stats out.
Nine Toes Brewing Company is a Gulf Coast destination for craft beer, great food, and interactive entertainment. Enjoy a rotating selection of small batch brews, a menu of comfort food favorites, and state-of-the-art golf simulators featuring world-famous courses.
Looking for insurance coverage you can count on? Call the Insurance Barn, a professional agency since 1959. The Insurance Barn writes all-in-one policies and offers coverage for homeowners, fire, flood, commercial property, auto, boats, motorcycles, plus wind and hail protection.
Would love to introduce my good friend, an award-winning sports anchor and reporter from WLOX 13, ABC, CBS on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, Matt DeGregorio. Matt, what have you seen from the New Orleans Saints before the end of training camp, or before the training camp begins in July?
Yeah, this team looks exceptional, Hunter. I think it's the best they've looked in my entire time covering the team. I'm going in my 5th season now covering the team, and they haven't made the postseason yet since I've been covering this. Right now is their best team that they've fielded so far. I think it's the best chance that they have to vie and potentially play for a playoff spot this year. The emergence of Tyler Shuck at the end of last season should automatically give fans hope. Now, going forward, you get the additions of Jordan Tyson if he's healthy to start the season, which many presume that he will be, barring any type of setback. You bring him in, you pair him up right across the field from Chris Olave, and it creates a real downfield weapon and receiving threat on the other side of Olave, which is something that they really haven't had in the last few years. So I think that receiving core and those weapons that they've added for Tyler Shuck are massive. I also love the fact that they brought in Travis Etienne from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that he is a guy who's gonna bring a bit more energy. He brings a little more elusiveness than Alvin Kamara kind of brings to the table at his age and at this point in his career. Now, if Alvin is with the team and he does not get cut, which I think is still a possibility or still on the table, if Alvin's still with the team, then I think that you have a real threat to contend not only for the NFC South, but to potentially win a playoff game this year. I just think when you have 2 backs, we've seen it the last few years with the Lions, for example. You have, and you saw with the Saints a few years back with Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara, that duo, when you have 2 solid running backs who can score the football, you become really dangerous for the opposition.
We all understand the offensive weapons that they picked up in the draft and on the team especially. What about the defensive units and expectations? That's really the question that I haven't heard anybody answer so far.
Yeah, last year was a top 10 scoring defense in the National Football League. They were really underrated to start the season. And I talked with Anthony Jennings, who comes over from the AFC champion New England Patriots, and he's a guy who played at Alabama. So he's from Alabama, so he's used to the heat down here. He said he grew up as close to a Saints fan as you could be, really. He was a guy who now enters the fold, having seen what the Saints did last year and elected to come to New Orleans to make an impact there. Obviously, the loss of Demario Davis is massive. He's one of the guys who's one of the leading tacklers year in and year out for the New Orleans Saints. Now that he's back in New York, somebody's going to have to fill that void. I expect Pete Warner to play more of an inside role. I think that Pete can really add to the volume of tackles that he's done over the last few years. I expect Anthony Jennings to be a guy who steps up and creates a real tough environment in the middle of the field there. And then in the secondary, you have some guys that you drafted last year, including Jonas Sanker, who you expect to make a jump from year one to year two. He was phenomenal when he had to fill in. Of course, Alontae Taylor's now gone with the Tennessee Titans, so Sanker's role is going to just increase that much more. On the outside, I really coming off the edge, Chase Young, I think, is poised to have maybe his best year as a pro. He's coming in a full offseason of just being healthy. You signed Cam Jordan last week as well, so now you got Jordan back in the fold. He's obviously not going to play more than 35-40% of the snaps. But if he can get you the same number of sacks like he did a season ago, that defense is going to be very similar to what they were. They also added Martin Emerson Jr., a guy who played football at Mississippi State, grew up a Saints fan over there in Pensacola. He comes into the fold, elected to come from Cleveland to the Saints. Another guy who mentioned how underrated the Saints defense was a year ago, and that was attractive to him coming into the fold in New Orleans.
From the collegiate level, now with a short summary and evaluation, where do you think the big three Mississippi football teams stand before camp?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think Southern Miss could have some trouble. Charles Huff came in and really ignited a flame last year. He had a plan in place. And really, I'll say, he executed it for the first 7-8 weeks of the season. Southern Miss was a team that at one point we were talking about them potentially playing for a Sun Belt championship, which could have potentially gotten you into the college football playoff. Now, obviously, looking back, that was crazy talk, but that was what we were talking about with Southern Miss. I think they take a massive step back this year. I don't know that they necessarily get to bowl eligibility. Mississippi State, another team who kind of surprised people last year. They won their first SEC game since, I believe, 2023, last season ago, or maybe the end of 2024. I have to go back and check there. But you finally get your first SEC win as a head coach. Jeff Lebby did. You bring back a couple of coaches who have been with the program before. And I think that, including Zach Arnett, of course, the notable name that I'm kind of mentioning here. So you have some guys back in the fold there that can hopefully bring you to that next level. Now, they made a bowl game last year. They only had 5 wins. They were kind of that extra team. I don't know that we necessarily see like a massive advancement from Mississippi State. I think they'll win 1 or 2 SEC games this season. They're younger as well. And as for Ole Miss, the expectation should be college football playoff. Like, you bring back Trinidad Chambliss, You have, I believe, the top running back in all of college football, and Kewan Lacey back. And then, you got to see what Pete Golding's going to do in his first full season as a head coach. You lose some pretty key weapons in the receiving core. Can you fill them? I don't know if they're necessarily worried about that. If you can run the ball effectively, then you're gonna be a team to be reckoned with. I don't know that Ole Miss loses more than 2 games in the regular season, and if they do, I think it's a catastrophic failure.
The Shuckers, possibly, I think they were a game ahead, and now I think they're pretty much close to clinching it. The playoffs for the 3rd consecutive year, the Biloxi Shuckers, despite the massive downfall, at least from the rain the last few days. Give me your thoughts about where they're at as a team.
Yeah, so the Shuckers actually just clinched an hour ago with a win. And Pensacola they played a game last night at 10. Pensacola did against Birmingham. They won to keep today's game's meaning something. The Shuckers, they got the job done. It wasn't necessarily pretty, but they've been playing some of the best baseball in the entire Southern League, maybe all of AA, since their real rough start to the season in April. The starting pitching has really come around. You just got Josh Adamszewski and Andrew Fisher, two Brewers prospects who the Milwaukee, the big club, is really excited about. You get them called up. Blake Burke has been phenomenal this season for Biloxi. You look at what the Shuckers can do. I don't think that they're going to have all these key pieces when it comes to the playoffs later in the season. Jesus Madej is probably still going to be here if I were to guess. He's 19. You're still going to want to develop him a little bit, especially with the playoff run coming around. Good for Mike Guerrero, the manager. He's back after Joe Aralt was in charge the last couple of years. Guerrero comes in. He had not been to the postseason a few times for a few consecutive years with the Shuckers. Gets them back to the postseason in his first year back with the org. Big deal here. A fun fact for you, Hunter. The last time that a Milwaukee AA affiliate has been to the playoffs for at least 3 straight years, Mike Guerrero was the shortstop, I believe, in El Paso, Texas. That was in 1994. So it's been a long time since the Brewers AA affiliate has been to the postseason in 3 consecutive years, and the Shuckers were able to do it. So kudos to them. It wasn't necessarily pretty, but you get the job done.
That's some good research right there, my friend. Tell everybody how they get in touch with you.
Yeah, you can watch nightly on WOX on Channel 13 ABC or Channel 3, I believe, CBS. And yeah, you can reach out to me on Twitter, Matt_DeGregorio.
And I'm hoping y'all, I don't know if y'all still do the high school coverage up until the season, but if it is, I want people to start watching it. So.
Yeah, oh yeah, we do our countdown to kickoff. The high school football previews going up, probably starting in the beginning of August. We talked to all the football coaches, some of the key players from the season, and really preview everything that's going on.
Good deal. You take care, my friend.
Appreciate it, Hunter. Thank you.
Looking for trusted legal guidance on the Mississippi Gulf Coast? Joseph Kelly, attorney at law, has been serving the coast since 1993, helping families protect what matters most. From estate planning to securing your legacy, Joseph Kelly provides experienced, personalized legal services designed around your unique needs.
Join us July 2nd to 5th at Jones Park in Gulfport for the 78th Annual Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo, a Gulf Coast tradition filled with fishing, food, family fun, and live entertainment.
We'll move to our next guest, who doesn't really need any introduction from me. Is my good friend, SuperTalk news reporter, Caleb Sailors. Caleb covers all the Mississippi colleges with all of the news for the state's largest media syndicate, SuperTalk Mississippi, on supertalk.fm, and has the statewide football scoreboard show Friday nights to report the scores. How are you, my friend?
Hunter, I'm great, man. And first, I want to, happy Father's Day to you, man.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. Let's talk a little bit quickly about, a few of the college football and NCAA things. Do you know when the new college football committee will come out with a new playoff setup? Is there any kind of idea of the dates that's going to happen?
Yeah, I really don't know, Hunter. I know that there's been a lot of talk of playoff expansion. Well, do we go to 16 teams? Do we go to 24 teams? I know that Greg Sankey with the SEC, which obviously I cover Ole Miss, so the SEC is kind of my focus there. It has not been super duper duper thrilled and gung-ho about the idea of expansion. Now, I do think it might be better for the conference for there to be expansion, more guaranteed SEC teams. But really, Hunter, I don't know when those conversations will materialize. I think it's kind of inevitable that we will have playoff expansion. I'm just not exactly sure if it'll be, not this season, but next season or the season after.
What's happening so far with the NCAA investigation on Ole Miss right now? Haven't really heard anything about that either.
Yeah, and Ole Miss officials aren't going to open up and talk. I've tried to poke around. I've tried to see where things were, but we're not really going to get anything official there. But what I do know, Hunter, and what I'm at liberty to say is that I know Ole Miss is being compliant with the NCAA, and I do know that Pete Golding has told officials at Ole Miss have told other outlets, and I've gotten some independent confirmation here too, that, if the NCAA really does want to kind of go after Ole Miss like it did in the 2010s when Ole Miss had multiple years of bowl bans in the Matt Luke era, Pete Golding's not going to go down without a fight. I mean, he'll show evidence of tampering from other schools too. I can name one right now that a former Ole Miss coach just left to go to that was blatantly tampering, allegedly. And so it wouldn't be Ole Miss being singled out there. Then the NCAA would have to really, really crack down on tampering if it wanted to make an example out of Ole Miss.
Can I say his name rhymes with plane?
It rhymes with plane. Plane mitten.
Nice. Now, since Super Talk is the eye in the sky, our theme here for all the Mississippi high school football across the state.
Right.
Who are the primary recruits from the state, if you know of, and who are the big three looking at? But more importantly, who are the primary recruits across the state that anybody down here or any of the audience members should be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, Caden Moss is the top recruit in Mississippi. He's offensive tackle from Jackson Academy. Actually visited Ole Miss this weekend, and it looks like Ole Miss is in the front runner's seat to get him. He's going to be he's going to be announcing on June 26th. But right now, he is the top prospect in this year's class. And I'm looking through the list. Ole Miss has a lot of the top prospects in Mississippi. And I know Ole Miss had Benny Easter on campus. He's not from Mississippi. Other guys, Tristan Keys, who had committed to Tennessee, had been at Tennessee. I mean, he might be a guy that ends up in the transfer portal here soon. I know Ole Miss is not going to let him just stay somewhere else without at least, possibly entertaining the idea of, hey, if you're not happy, you can find a home here. But yeah, 3 of the top recruits right now in the state of Mississippi are either committed to Ole Miss or on the verge of committing to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss will probably get 4 out of the top 5 in Mississippi. And so Ole Miss has kind of had a dominant stretch in recruiting in state in Mississippi, and this year is no exception.
Have you heard anything about state or USM picking up some guys, at least maybe JUCO level or something as such from the Mississippi recruiting aspect?
Well, I know Mississippi State got a big recruit from your neck of the woods out of Cooper Crosby, and I thought that was a big pickup for Mississippi State. Right. Good for them to get him over Auburn. I know that they're working the JUCO scene pretty hard. I know both of those schools, Southern Miss probably more so than Mississippi State and Ole Miss, because I think a JUCO player would benefit a Southern Miss more so than an Ole Miss Mississippi State. Ole Miss and Mississippi State are kind of able to pluck in from other conferences, from the Sun Belt, from CUSA, even from other SEC schools. I mean, Ole Miss has had 4 or 5 different portal commits from SEC schools this past cycle. And so I think the JUCO route would benefit Southern Miss more. I know Mississippi State has gotten some JUCO guys, got a guy from EMCC this past class. And so I know that the JUCO route is still something all 3 are hitting and looking at pretty decently. And I know from the Ole Miss front, Pete Golding is keeping an eye on the JUCO scene in Mississippi as well.
Give me your evaluation. The final question for you, Caleb. Give me the evaluation of 3 programs, the big 3, the coaching staff, and where they're going to go from here. But you don't have to be long. I know, because I know that could be a whole episode. But just going to give me your brief evaluation before training camp begins.
Yeah, I mean, I think Blake Anderson, I'll look at Southern Miss first. I think Blake Anderson's in a peculiar position because Charles Huff won so much and so quickly, but it kind of got weird at the end, and with Huff entertaining Memphis, and it was kind of inevitable that he was going to leave at that point. I think he has a lot to prove, but without crazy expectations being on him year one. That's a guy I'd really like to see succeed, at Southern Miss. Blake Anderson was a guy that they had considered for head coach a while back. I think ended up with Ellis Johnson, which was a bad decision at that point. But, he's going to have, an opportunity to really show, hey, this wasn't just Charles Huff rebuilding this program. This is a healthy and successful Southern Miss program that's going to be returned to a glory that Jeff Bauer and even Larry Fedora once had it at. And as we get into training camps and stuff, I really think Jeff Lebby has to figure it out in Starkville. This is going to be one of those seasons where if they don't have a winning record or a break-even record, he's going to have to show some sort of improvement. The team has to look better because Mississippi State's probably, I mean, that quarterback, they got Kamario Taylor, who's athletic, can make a lot of plays, make good decisions on his feet. He's not going to have an offensive line this year. And so Jeff Levy's going to have to show, hey, I'm a creative play caller. I can masquerade with a bad offensive line and make things work, and win games against teams we probably shouldn't beat. So I really do think Levy's going to have a lot of pressure on him. Pete Golding is kind of the wild card this year because there is pressure on him, and boy, he inherited something really crazy at Ole Miss, but he kind of inherited a roster and built around one that's kind of tailor-made to succeed. Now the schedule doesn't line up in Ole Miss's favor. I mean, they've got to go to the Swamp. They've got Auburn and Oxford this year, got LSU and Oxford. I mean, it's going to be a tough schedule, but it's still a roster that's kind of advantageous with a revamped defense, and you got Trinidad Chambliss and Keywan Lacey back with kind of a rebuffed wide receiver core. So I do think Pete's going to be the one that has the most tailor-made, a team that's tailor-made for success. I think Blake Anderson might be a little bit of a dark horse where he could get some things going and really prove that, hey, Southern Miss is back. And Levy is going to have to like be a magician this year and show, hey, I'm a really good play caller, really good offensive mastermind. This is why you pay me to make, diamonds out of dust.
Caleb, tell everybody how they can reach you.
Yeah, Caleb Sailors, STM on X or at supertalk.fm.
You take care, my friend.
Thanks, Hunter.
United States Marine Inc. knows what it means to show up strong. Your grit and teamwork inspire us every day. At USMI, we cherish our family, and our family includes community and you. USMI builds the baddest boats with pride and coastal toughness.
And now, my next guest is an accomplished guest, of course, and as they all are, but he's a regular on ESPN's The Paul Feinbaum Show. And he is, in real life, a Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal reporter, Michael Katz. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I didn't realize we were going to be on video. I would have maybe trimmed up the mustache a little bit more.
Trust me, I had to kind of shave and do a few other things, my friend. But according to Phil Steele, which that's what I've kind of gotten some of the early release of the athletic Bible is what you would say. But according to Phil Steele, the most trusted collegiate eye in the sky, for college football, my question to you is, why is Ole Miss ranked number 1 in offense, but they're number 17 in the overall national ranking? Does Phil think their defense is going to be that bad?
I think it's more of, probably what you're getting with the offense, with Trinidad and Keywan, and the offense we assume is going to be very similar to what it was under Charlie Weiss with John David Baker, a similar sort of pace and all those things. I just think that, Ole Miss lost a big pass rusher in Prince Willem Amielin. That's a really big one. You lose a 10-sack guy in the SEC. That's a pretty big deal. That doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to make up for it, but it means that there's some questions. And so I think, too, with Pete being the head coach, and he's still going to be calling plays on defense on game day, how does it work? And yeah, we saw it for a few games in the playoff, but how does it work when it's completely his team for an entire off season? And like, what does it look like in the when they play Louisville in the first game? We don't know what all of that looks like quite yet, and I think we have a good idea. I don't think it's going to crash and burn. Pete did some really good things in the playoff, man. I mean, that was incredible stuff that he did. But I think that when it's your team for the first time and you've had a full off season and it's your program, it's your schedule, it's all these things. I think there are some questions, fair or not.
Do you think that Ole Miss has the potential? I know this is somewhat of your job to kind of being able to follow this, but do you think they have an opportunity to be a playoff team again outside of the performance of Trinidad and Keywan?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is And the record might not show it. They might be 9-3 this year. I don't, I don't know. Again, the schedule's tough, but I think there's a chance this team is way better than it was last year when they were 11-1. I think that this is, I don't know how it ends up in terms of the playoff committee and all those things. And there's a lot of conversations about that right now, obviously. But I think that this team is going to be
solid.
This is a top 10 quality team. And listen, I don't know if that's how the committee sees it when it comes to it, but this is going to be a really good team.
Well, that gets to the segue to my next question, which was about the complexity of the schedule this year versus last year. With Phil Steele's new magazine said that Ole Miss has, despite having like the 15th toughest schedule in the SEC last year, they have the top level complexity of schedule this year. Do you think this is going to benefit based on the way the college football committee ruled last year? If they're 9-3, is that just about the same rankings as them being 11-1 last year?
Yeah, I think part of it depends on who you lose to and what it looks like. Listen, if you lose at Texas and at Oklahoma, I don't think anyone's going to hold that against you, right? If you win the rest.
Yeah.
I think they have a really good opportunity. I think Texas is going to be really good. I think Oklahoma is going to be really good, but I also think Ole Miss is going to be really good. So I think it's kind of a coin flip for a lot of those. I do think that this schedule, particularly if you were to lose 3 games, puts you in a way better position than, if Ole Miss last year had lost 3 games, they wouldn't have been anywhere near the playoff because of the strength of schedule. This year, with the strength of schedule, they're going to be in every conversation. So they're in a really good place. I know it's interesting because a lot of the preseason magazines are top 10 to 12, 15, whatever. I think this team is going to be really good.
Final question for you, my friend. Is Louisville a trap game in preparation for LSU?
Yeah, I think Louisville, listen, Jeff Brom has done a really good job there in his career, and he does great things with the quarterbacks and the offense, all those things. I know he's going to have a new quarterback this year. Last year, his quarterback I'm a USC guy. It was a former USC quarterback in Miller Moss, so it always comes back to that. But no, I think that, listen, it's a neutral site game, first game of the year. It's always a little bit weird. I don't know if I'd say a trap game because I think that Louisville is going to catch Ole Miss on guard. That being said, is that a game Ole Miss could lose? 100%. But I think Ole Miss is going to be ready for it.
Good deal, my friend. Tell everybody how they can reach out to you.
Yeah, so you can find my stories on djournal.com, and you can find me on X/Twitter at Michael L. Katz, Katz.
We always appreciate you, man. We thank you very much for being on with us.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Take care.
The greatest fairy tale never told is coming to Beau Rivage this summer. Everyone's favorite ogre hits the stage in the Broadway hit Shrek the Musical. Join Shrek, Donkey, and Princess Fiona on a high-energy, family-friendly adventure, June 11th through July 2nd. Tickets start at $25 with 4-packs starting at $60. VIP packages available. Get your tickets at beaurivage.com. A Rand Productions show produced through special arrangement with Music Theater International, MTI, plus tax and service charge. Schedule subject to change. Some restrictions may apply.
If you are thinking about selling on your own, maybe ask Steph. If you would like to talk to Stephanie to help determine your next steps, call today at 228-563-0471 or call her at the office and ask for Steph at 228-452-4242. One of the guys that is one of the hardest workers in the media world, David Schultz. David is the host of one of the best college athletics programs in the media, Locked On Sunbelt podcast. David, it was a successful year for the conference, for the Sunbelt Conference, with a team in the college football playoff, solid NCAA college basketball teams, and a team in the College World Series. How do you think this benefits the conference in recruiting and big donors, all the rest?
Yeah, that's a good question, Hunter. Thanks for having me on again. Hopefully they can take advantage of it, right? That, the big news just the other day is Jimmy Janicki is coming back. The Troy catcher with his 87 runs batted in. You got to think an SEC team or ACC team came after him with high 6, low 7 figures to come play catcher for them. He's only got one more year left. If he plays well again, he'll go pro.
I didn't know Troy had that much money.
I don't think Troy's got that money. No, I don't think so. I think maybe that he gave him a little bit, maybe, in the high 5, low 6 figures, maybe, but who knows? But it's good to see him coming back. And that'll be something that the Sun Belt can build on all year. We don't have to wait until, after football or after basketball to start talking about him and get him some national pub. It's a good question how you can capitalize on it, because I don't think we have a JMU this year in there. Maybe we do in terms of getting to the college football playoff, and things fell right for them. The next step, really, Hunter, and I don't understand how to do it, to be honest with you, is to get 2 teams into the NCAA basketball tournament. I talked to all the coaches that came on. One of the best things about Sunbelt baseball is, you can have this great season, and if you have a bad weekend, you're still going. Like if say Southern Miss lost to Troy in that Sunday ball game and didn't play the Cajuns and won the championship, they were still going to the NCAA tournament. Yeah. If Troy loses one of their 2 ball games in basketball, they're not going. And so it's so much easier when you're a Sunbelt baseball team to have a really good season, and yet you don't have to worry about, fizzling out during the Sunbelt Conference tournament. On the other hand, the Cajuns, Texas State, and Troy all got into the NCAA tournament because of the Sunbelt Conference tournament. So it can work both ways.
Is there, based on what you've seen, and you already did mention this, that you don't think that there's going to be a really good opportunity, or maybe you do, for another team in the college, in the Sunbelt Conference, to be able to gain that spot in the college playoff?
I guess I'm probably speaking way too soon, because honestly, JMU, their biggest win last year was Old Dominion, right? And then that game spun out of control early in the second half. But otherwise, I went to the Louisville ball game. They probably could have won that ball game, if not should have, but Louisville made a couple of more plays and it got away from them. So there wasn't this huge ball game that JMU won, just everybody else lost. And they kept on, for the most part, blowing teams out. Maybe the Cajuns. The Cajuns are heading out to USC. All right. Almost feels like a decade ago now, but it's probably about 6 years or so. South Alabama should have beaten, I think it was UCLA, in fact. They should have beaten UCLA out in the Coliseum, right? Or not in the Coliseum, in the Rose Bowl.
By 1 point, I think.
Yeah, they had a punt. They had a punt. They tried a fake punt, and they just should have gone for it on 4th down or kick a field goal. I think they faked a field goal. But, do you need a win like that to get there? And that's the other next thing that the Sun Belt needs. They need better bowl affiliations just to get into bigger bowls down the road. But you're right, Hunter. It has to be the best Sun Belt season ever.
Talk to me about the strength of Louisiana Tech coming in versus what the Sun Belt might be losing it with Texas State leaving.
Well, in terms of
strength
overall, or are you talking about specifically about football?
It could be just strictly about football, because that's what we'll know right now. But as far as, if you want to, you can talk.
You're talking generally speaking. So the best part about it is the rivalries, right? The built-in rivalries. The Cajuns and La Tech hate each other. Just that's just the way that it is. More in basketball, in all sports, they used to play each other on a regular basis. Now they will once again. And so that's a good thing. The Cajuns need a rival. They didn't have a rival for the most part until Southern Miss showed up. So now they have 2 rivalries. La Tech is a good rivalry for Southern Miss. All right. They'll be back at it once again. It's probably a good potential rivalry for Arkansas State. And of course, their next door neighbor, ULM. That's what the East has, Marshall, ODU, JMU, Coastal Carolina, all the App State, Georgia Southern, all these teams played each other for a long time, and they have a bunch of rivalries built in. The West really doesn't. When I got there, it was, the Cajuns in Arkansas State, and Anderson's back at Southern Miss now, but Hudspeth's long gone. And so that's an odd rivalry, trying to put a bunch of people in on a Thursday night football game or a Saturday night football game, for that fact of the matter. The two biggest crowds I think the Cajuns had when I was there was, I think McNeese was one of them, but Southern was another one, and Grambling was another one, right? The Grambling and the Southern fans travel. ULM fans don't travel. It is what it is. And so what La Tech is bringing to the Sun Belt is going to be potential rivals and in-state rivals, and that's a good thing when it comes to college football.
Well, I mean, what's the conference losing out of Texas State leaving? I mean, I'm not really sure because they don't have the same TV market that UT has. So
that's true. I'm not sure. Well, I mean, it does hurt. The Cajuns always went into Texas and go get some kids. Right now, you can't say you're going to go back to Texas and play. Right, that corridor from Houston to San Marcos. Right, that's a thing. And so that's going to be an issue. I liked Texas State. I think G.J. Kinney's a heck of a coach. They play an exciting brand of football. I think that's good. Basketball has always been relatively competitive. Baseball hits a lot of home runs, and they finally got back to the NCAA tournament this past year. They won the softball conference, just a couple of years ago when they actually took down the Cajuns before Glasgow left. So, I'm not sure how much TV markets matter. When it comes to the Sun Belt, it's just some are bigger than others, and some that don't. I mean, Georgia Southern's TV market's got to be tiny, right? Troy's TV market is tiny, and yet Troy just went to Omaha, so I'm not sure how much TV market matters. I guess matters in the big picture in terms of television contracts, and that's the next thing that the Sun Belt has to deal with.
Now, I know I'm going to see you in New Orleans hopefully pretty soon. But what is the most important question? You don't have to give me your whole script of all that, but what is your important question that you're going to ask Commissioner Keith Gill?
All right. Well, this is going to be it because this has come up in championship after championships. The Sun Belt broadcasts remotely. The play-by-play and color announcers are not on site. So Matt Stewart does a great job with whomever he's doing it with, basketball-wise, but he's in New Orleans. He was with Ronnie Rance, LSU's Ronnie Rance. You know Ronnie. They did the Sun Belt baseball, all right?
Yeah.
You need to take the Sun Belt does not take full advantage of that television production. They need to have a weekly show. They need to have a Saturday show for football. Right, whether it's like a 6 p.m. show or a nightly show. And then during Sun Belt tournaments, have it all day, right? Yeah. Instead of going when we have a rain delay, well, your game is in a weather delay. Or whether it's, one game ends and it says your game hasn't started yet. Just why don't we have, 10 hours of Sun Belt broadcasting?
Yeah.
I think they need, and I'm sure it takes money. Probably more than I'm willing to concede because you need a couple of broadcasters there. You need some talent. One person is not going to be able to handle all of that, so you need two people there. You need to travel to play-by-play. An analyst, Matt Stewart's got to travel to the game, so that's more money. But I think if you invest in that TV production, the Sun Belt can get a lot more publicity on a regular basis across the nation.
Do you think that the Monday, once the football season starts, they always have the Monday morning coaches show? Do you think that's legitimate? They need to keep doing that, or would you think that should be on a bigger broadcast?
Is that just a coach's show, or is that just kind of we're talking to the next guy?
Yeah, the coaches they give you a recap.
They pop in, yes. So you could make that a coach's show, right? You could have a anchor ask the first couple of questions and then toss it to the local guys. That's something. That's an idea. That's a good job, Hunter. That's a great idea.
Well, you take care of yourself and tell everybody how they can contact you, David.
You guys can find me on Twitter and X at SchulzeCast. Same thing for Instagram. I don't think I have my own lockdown, my own TikTok yet, so we'll just keep it Lockdown Sunbelt. Also on Instagram and a TikTok. So you can find me there, and we'll hopefully see you in New Orleans. You said last year you're buying this year, right, Hunter? I bought last year. You're buying this year?
All right, I'll get you the king cake wherever I can find one.
Well, I'd prefer a beverage. Although king cake's not a bad way to go either.
I do want to say before you leave, David is a great man, and I really appreciate him, coming on. He's got a great podcast, and I encourage all of our audience to download and listen to him. Thank you very much, David.
Appreciate it, Hunter. Thanks, man.
Take care. Gratefully appreciate you listening to this podcast. And Jeff, we thank you again. We want to thank all of our sponsors, including Beau Rivage Resort and Casino in Biloxi, Nine Toes Brewery in Pasquarchan, O'Dwyer Realty Agent Stephanie Mankiewicz, Joseph Kelly's Attorney at Law, Coast Casual in Pasquarchan, the Insurance Barn in Gulfport, Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo in Jones Park in Gulfport, and we're in the U.S. Marine Inc. studio. Make sure you follow us on the Gazebo Gazette, where the podcast will be posted sometime next week, as well as Jeff has introduced it before. We are on YouTube under the Gazebo Gazette Productions, and we'll have little clips going out to you guys pretty soon. Right, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, man. We'll be putting some reels out on our social media. You can follow us, check out the video of this podcast on, you can search it under HD Experience or look it up under Gazebo Gazette Productions. We're on all the podcast channels, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon. Hunter, I hear a rumor we may be taking the show on the road next weekend. Is that happening?
That's what it sounds like. This time, Jeff, as I have to really get confirmation from Tyler, but from everybody else at Nine Toes Brewery, we're coming back there, but we're going to be live.
Right on.
Nine Toes Brewery.
I love Nine Toes, man. I love doing shows there. It's always a great time. So.
Exactly. Well, and we'll maybe even have to get an audience. I don't know, because we'll be on YouTube. So.
Well, we're definitely voices for radio, but we'll have a good time regardless. So.
That's right. Well, also you can follow us on Facebook.com/The Real Gazebo Gazette, or on X, otherwise known as Twitter, as the handle, the HD Experience, and as Gazebo Gazette is the handle. The HD Experience podcast is available, as Jeff said, on everywhere you get podcasts. Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, or anywhere under the HD Experience tag. Signing out, this is Hunter Dawkins, the HD Experience. We'll catch you on the flip side.